And welcome back to another Logically Fit podcast episode.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun. And that makes it sound like it's going to be scary or something like that.
I know. It's
Dun,
Law and Order, baby.
No, last week we tried to do this episode while you were on the road.
Yeah, that didn't work.
No, it didn't. And we had really good intentions. So for those of you that are listening, last week we didn't drop an episode, and it was originally just because we were going to record this episode last week while Tobi was on the road driving to the Twin Cities, I think you were going to.
Yes.
To visit your in-laws, because your mom and your little sister came into town, which for those you don't know, Tobi's from Germany. So they literally just flew from Germany to be with you for a whole week. Was it
3 weeks?
3 weeks. Oh. Are they still here or did they fly back?
No, they just left on the weekend.
Okay, cool. Anyways, so we were trying, he was driving in the car and we were trying to do this. And it took us 3 times. And it was just rain was in the background. I could hear your little sister, which it wasn't bad, but it was just all these things. And then we kept losing you because going in between towers. And I was like, I like that we're trying to show up and kind of that growth mindset. Something's better than nothing. Just keep that momentum going. But I'll be honest with you, by that 3rd take, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. We tried. Let's just do this next week.
I don't know. We had fun.
We did. Are you growing out your mustache right now?
No, I was just lazy for the past couple of weeks.
Okay, cool. I thought I saw a little what's the little?
I can handlebars.
You can
handlebars.
Do it?
Yeah,
you should try doing that. I dare you to grow them out.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hate the feeling of when you're eating and then something just gets stuck, or you're showering and then it drips. This is as I have been fed up for about a week now.
So it's going.
But
wow, you grow a beard and a mustache pretty well though. It's only been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Good on you.
Yeah. But testosterone, baby. Yeah.
Testosterone. Oh, goodness. So, Tobi, what are we here to talk about today?
Ooh. Well, originally, we're here to talk about how to build muscle. Well,
building
how to
muscles for dummies.
Yes. Not that I call any of our listeners dumb.
Yeah, we're not calling you dumb.
But I think
a dummy would be able to do it. We all know,
for
one
sure.
of those people are like,
I think
even they should be able to do it after listening to this podcast.
I think there's a lot of people chasing their own tail, spinning in circles. It's how many people do we know that this is my favorite conversation especially when I'm talking with women and it's hey, you should strength train. No, I don't want to look bulky. It's
so that person. I'm embarrassed to say that, but I was that person.
Think about your friend Kyle from high school who has been going to Gold's Gym for 9 years and still looks the same.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually not that easy, but it should be. And the reason why it's nowadays no longer that easy is because there's so much information to muddy the waters.
It's so confusing. And there's so many different things that you can have access to. So it's the shiny thing syndrome. It's ooh, this. Oh, I got bored. Ooh, this. Oh, I got bored. Ooh, this. Or Susie did this and all these different things. So it's yeah, it's a lot of spinning their wheels. So our hope is for this program to just really simplify the crap out of it. Like you said before, it's not easy. Building muscle is not easy.
It's simple though.
Yes,
it should be simple.
And remind yourself, every single time that you want to create a change in some way, you have to get out of your comfort zone. If it's not challenging, you're not going to see a change. So it's a good thing that it's challenging, but it's very simple, very straightforward. If you do these simple principles that we're going to break down, you should start seeing results. Obviously, there's more nuances and everybody's a little bit different, but you'll get a really good foundation just listening from this podcast. All right. But before we start diving into that, I do want to take a brief second to put a little attention to the meal planning workshop that we've
for sure.
Yeah. So we're doing a meal planning made simple workshop. And the reason why we're doing this is multiple reasons why. One, we haven't done a webinar in I don't know how long. It's last year that was the last time that you did that, and it was so long ago. So I was like, oh, we need to do a webinar. We need to just like get out there, get some good information out there. It's 100% free. Also, I need to work on my speaking skills. I need to keep practicing that. That's one of my big goals. Did you know that I struggle with a stutter most of my life?
No.
Yeah, I did. And it wasn't until I started coaching that I was like, screw this, I'm going to work on it. And then I started and I just got better over a period of time. But
so I actually don't think it's a stutter because I have the same issue occasionally.
Yeah,
it's that you're trying to talk like your brain is going 400 miles faster than what your tongue can do. And then you just restart the same sentence 47 times.
And then you add in being ungodly nervous and shaking and not trying to fight, not to cry. That was me. I would be like, you know, those assignments in school, they're like, go give a presentation. I'd be the one that's like pits, like stains, like shaking and just like terrified and looking like I'm going to cry the whole time.
And then they tell you
like, oh my God, this is painful. Just sit
and then
down.
They tell you, make sure this is your speech is supposed to last 5 minutes. And then you're done talking in like 2.5.
Yeah. And you're like awkwardly staring.
Yeah. So like, I feel like, when you were, that was like my biggest advice for you too. Like when you were on NCS and you were.
No, it's it wasn't NCS. Remember?
Yeah,
NCS,
it was the other one. It was.
Oh my goodness, the biggest brain fart in the whole world.
I know. It's they
Coaching
have.
Con.
I was about Coaching Con. I was gonna say impact over everything or whatever.
That's a saying that they say a lot, which I really am a huge fan of. But no, it's at Coaching Con.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those of you listening, I was fortunate enough to be asked to step on stage to speak at a convention called Coaching Con. And it's basically a convention for other coaches learning how to create a successful business.
From all sorts of like health and fitness, finance, like there's anything like mindset, anything where there could be a form of coaching. It was a convention for that.
Yeah, 100%. And so there was like a close to, I can't remember how many people. Do you remember? Close to 1,000?
No.
Am I overshooting or under?
I don't know. Room was full.
The room was full. Yeah, I when you told me that, like, to slow down, things like that, I needed that. Because like my head was going 5 billion miles an hour. You're really good at reminding me to slow the F down. Because I used to do like webinars and all that stuff all the time last year. We briefly took a pause just because we were like working on thriving on the back end, and we're going to be getting back to it. But every single time I'm like, oh yeah, I need to slow down. It like comes at the perfect time. Anyways, so yeah, I need to practice my speaking skills, but also meal planning is something that we talk about a lot with our clients. And it is something that obviously like everybody needs to learn. Everybody struggles with that because it's a skill. I had to go through learning how to meal plan and meal prep when I first started. It's a skill worth learning 1,000%. It's kind of like driving. Right. At first, we're like white knuckling things and we're like, oh, I got to learn this crap. But like, it's worth it in the end because it helps you get from like point A to point B significantly faster than if you try to walk or something like that. So it's well worth it in the end. So it's the same thing there. But usually when I'm explaining meal planning, it's pretty much the same framework to start off with. Like, obviously what works for everybody is going to be different. Like how you meal plan and meal prep is different than me, but like, we still have start with the same foundation, and then we learn how to break the rules after that. And so I was like, this is something that we could literally just make a course out of. And I'll be honest with you, more times than not, majority of our clients just overcomplicate things. They really, they're trying too hard. I'm like, I could never do what you're doing. Like, yours takes too long and it's too complicated. And then I explain some tips and tricks to them. They're like, oh my God, like that is so simple. Why didn't I think of it? And it's like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, I didn't know a lot of things when I first started either. And then I had coaches that helped me the same way that we're helping them. So I was like, figured we could do like some type of course that any of our Thriving On members could come in and take on their own instead of waiting for a coach to explain them. They can like do things, do it on their own and maybe progress a little bit faster. And then we can still be in the corner to help them with that. But I wanted to practice it. I wanted to give a good trial run and just get feedback from people to make sure that I was covering topics that people wanted to understand, if I was explaining things well, if I could add things, take away things. So it's basically like when you come to this free workshop, it's basically me trying out a course on you. So you get the course for free. I might be a little bit rough around the edges. Hopefully I do well. We'll see. But this is going to be like a first draft. So if you are wanting to learn a little bit more about meal planning and or meal prepping, and you want to make sure that it's simple and you're not overcomplicating things, and it helps you hit your goals better. Like, everybody loves structure. Everybody's like, I love structure. Give me all the structure. It helps me so much. And it's like, okay, great. Meal planning and meal prepping is a really great way to create structure to help you be more adherent to eating healthier. But like, meal planning and meal prepping helps you save money too. Like, going out to eat is so expensive nowadays. So we can be more consistent with that kind of stuff and so much more. Right. So if you're looking to learn a little bit about that, want to be a part of that, and also help your girl out, that would be amazing. We're going to have the link below for you to enroll. It's on the 25th. Okay. It's at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And so you can show up virtually. Anybody that enrolls, if you can't show up at that time, we'll still send you the replay. And there's also going to be coming with like a workbook and everything that's going to come with like all the steps, all the worksheets to walk you through all the different steps to simplify things. And then I'm going to add some other things like tips and tricks that I've learned over a period of time, and like over 50 plus meal ideas to get started with. That's really, really simple. And then go from there. If I think of anything else, I'll probably add it in there, but I'm still in the middle of making that. But you're going to be sent that after you enroll. And if you are listening to this or watching this and it's past July 2024, I'll make sure that I go back and I'll include the link below in the show notes for you to get access to either the course or the replay or what we have made at that time, so you can get access to that. But it's a little shameless plug right there. But let's get on into the actual topic that we're here to talk about today. Getting jacked. No, I'm just kidding. Building muscle. Right. So, Toby, let's start from let's triage this. Mm-hmm. The typical MO of what we do is triage. Let's the big picture of like, what is the big rocks? What's going to give you a really good return in your investment? And then we'll move into like the medium-ish rocks and then go down from there. So, in your opinion, what do you think is like the big rock? Like, if you focus on anything, like, start with this.
Train.
Yeah. Train. Yeah.
I know it's nothing magical about it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be crazy. It's literally strength training.
The simplest of programs. Strength training programs are often the most effective.
Body weight machines, free weights. They all resistance bands. Mm-hmm. I can probably prioritize those from least effective to most effective, depending on what your experience level is, mm-hmm. right? But if you're just starting out, or it's been 15 years since you were in that high school gym lifting weights, just start.
Yeah.
Just know, if you want to, COVID has led to, or the shutdown has led to a lot of people having some rudimentary equipment at home.
Yeah.
And for most people in the beginning or to maintain, that works out great. But eventually you will run out of steam, right? So it's like body weight.
Your ceiling potential will be a lot lower.
Yeah, unless you want to continue to invest in your home gym. And for people who made that a hobby or a passion, that's cool.
Yeah. I see so many home gyms and I'm just like, oh,
they're like sick.
They're so much better than gyms that you can go to. Like,
I know.
It's so nice.
Yeah, but it's the most basic gym membership. Like, I own a gym, mm-hmm. and I don't have access to everything that I would like within that gym. And I'm either making do but I'm a maximalist. I have another $9.99 a month gym membership somewhere else where I have access to some other stuff that I don't have in my gym, and I don't go there every day. I go there like once or twice a week, 100%. But for the most part, in my own quarters. And if I even can't make it there, I have some stuff at home, right? But just like you said, triage, have the ability to make it work. But number one, start strength training.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if you are going to get your biggest bang for your buck, if you can make it happen, get access to something like a commercial gym that has access to a bunch of different things. Like there's so many gyms that have free weights now and machines and all these different like modalities of fitness all in one place. I always tell my clients to do that because that's the biggest bang for your buck. Like you can easily get like a Genesis membership or a lifetime membership if you can make that happen, if you have one near you, or just some type of gym membership that way. Because it literally has everything in one place. You won't have to eventually maybe like get memberships at different places. Like I've worked with clients who are like, I have a gym membership here, but then I also have a yoga membership here and then Pilates. I'm like, dog, don't you have a lifetime near you? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, just get a membership there. You just cut your costs in half right there.
I know.
Oh, and you can get everything in one place. So biggest bang for your buck is that way. But again, like you said before, it's just make do. But when you're following a program, something to keep in mind is that getting the best bang for your buck. We're not saying anything else besides this is bad, but getting your best bang for your buck, following a periodized program, a strength training program that typically hits all the body parts just to make sure you're a well-rounded person, right, is probably going to be a really good investment to start off with. Right. Don't get me wrong. Like the fitness classes, like I coach at a gym and it's primarily like group fitness classes, and that's not inherently bad, but there's a little bit of nuances that go in that you could potentially leave a lot of potential, like a lot of potential. Like you miss a lot of full potential. Sorry, I'm looking for the words and it's not coming. I need more coffee.
I think it depends. It depends on what you want.
Yeah, it depends on what you want. Right. But like when you're trying to build muscle, which is what people are wanting out of this podcast, right? One of the things that happens in group fitness is a lot of times you're not tracking your weights or your sets. There's a lot of variety. There's something new every single day. And while it's better than nothing at all, think of it as like a curriculum for a teacher. Okay. You have a student in school and your teacher is teaching a curriculum that's different every single day. There's no rhyme or reason to things. It's just kind of like, oh, sounds interesting, right? Or this is entertaining. And there's no keeping track of like, how are they doing? How are they progressing or anything like that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Your kid might learn things here and there, but you're probably going to be angry and walking in being like, why is there no rhyme or reason? Like, why are you just doing whatever you want? There needs to be structure over a period of time to make sure that the kid has enough time to learn the material, apply it, test it, and like keep track of things. Right? It's the same thing when it comes to strength training. In order for you to build muscle tissue, like, don't get me wrong, you don't need to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, but you do need to be spending enough time on something to get better at it, but also keep track of the weights, sets, reps to make sure that you are progressing over a period of time. That's why so many people are going to, let's say, CrossFit or fitness classes, which again, they're not inherently bad, right? But a lot of times people make a huge mistake of not keeping track of their weights, sets, reps. And a lot of times, not all gyms have really great programming like yours, Toby.
I was about to say, I still disagree with you.
Okay, no, there are some gyms that have really great programming. I have seen some really great programming at some gyms, but more times than not, there's not much rhyme or reason. And a lot of times the members going in haven't been taught properly on how to keep track of it. Like, don't you have an app where whether you go to the gym or like the class or not, they can keep track of everything?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and here's the thing, most gyms, I would say 90% of group class based gyms, at least in the CrossFit world, do have an app that allows for that. It's just that whoever is coaching the class, who is owning the gym, doesn't put enough emphasis on tracking the weights. I make it a very, very big point in every class I coach. It's track your weights. We have 2 minutes in between sets. I want everyone, go get your phone and use these 2 minutes and just record your weight, record your time. We are in a progressive cycle where the same exercises that we're doing to build strength continue to come up. And I want you to know how much weight you did last time. What is your projected 1 rep max? What weights should we do based on percentages? And again, this doesn't sound like strength training or muscle building for dummies, but it should be provided to you.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're spending a lot of money on F45 and Orange Theory, and you are, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people, when they're just starting out, they see really great results because they go from not having done anything to now doing something.
But your body will adapt. It'll get used to it.
And eventually you're just going to get stuck and maintain. Now, that's going to happen if you're going to a regular gym and you track your weights and you do everything to a T. Like if we're chasing optimal and you do everything optimally, which I have a thing or two about chasing optimal at the end of this as well.
Yeah.
But even then, you will reach your limit. Eventually, you will reach your genetic potential and you're done. Now, but I can probably count on one hand how many people I know that have reached their genetic potential. It takes a long time. It takes a while. It takes a lot of consistency, a lot of effort. But if you go to a group class-based gym and you don't see a progressive strength cycle, you don't have the ability to track your weights and those kind of things, either inquire because you may not know that you have that ability, or move on.
And here's the thing is, like, I know you say about like majority of CrossFit gyms do have the ability to track that, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, I was in CrossFit for a really long time. Like that was all I did for a majority of my fitness career. And I maybe know of like one other gym.
Oh, that's crazy. I haven't been, well, okay. I haven't been part of a gym where that wasn't part of the focus.
Yeah. And then it's not even just CrossFit. We have plenty of listeners that don't do CrossFit. It's like there's other fitness gyms as well that you can have access to that aren't affiliated with CrossFit. And it's still the same thing where either maybe the coaches or the staff has not informed the members enough to be able to track and understand the importance of that. I think that's also the responsibility of the coaches, the members, to educate their members to make sure that they get the most out of things so they're not spinning their wheels. But more times than not, like it's just, hey, get in, get out. Here's something that's on the board. It's kind of random. There's not much rhyme or reason to it. And then that's why people go in and for years they're like, I feel like I'm doing all these workouts, I'm doing all these things, and I'm just not seeing, like, I'm not building muscle tissue. I'm not seeing the strength gains that I want. I'm hit that ceiling of potential.
I think there's far more to that than programming. Because I would say if you've been working out, lifting, right? You just brought up a very great point. There's a lot of people that have been part of gyms for a very long time and they don't see the results that they want. If you've been working out for more than 6 months and you still can't seem to make progress, you're most likely lacking an understanding of what it means to fit a program into your life, right? You're not just lacking willpower or those kind of things, but before we even talk exercise selection, progressive overload, those kind of things, I think adherence is the most important part of the pyramid.
100%.
What I mean by that is that it's the foundation of all programs, of all program design. It's no program or strength training routine will work if you're not consistently showing up. If you're not adhering to the program, it won't work, period.
100%. And you can take a shitty program, but if you're consistent at it and you work hard at it, you will see results.
100%, right? Now, most people unfortunately, when they think about choosing a program, choosing a gym, or maybe even are super passionate and write their own program, they don't look at it in that manner, right? We try to major in the minors and we choose programs that are maybe misaligned with my goals, with my preferences, or with my lifestyle, right? It's now we're trying to conform and take my round peg and fit it in a square hole, right?
Yeah, and you see that a lot in social media. It's like, hey,
Huge.
like CrossFit Frank online has this program and he's jacked, so I'm going to do his program. And it's like that program is what works for him, but you're entirely different. You probably have a different schedule.
Yeah,
CrossFit Frank probably doesn't have kids. You have a couple, like all these. He's probably
I
been
know.
lifting for a long period of time, and you haven't, or what have it. Like there's so
Yeah.
many different
It's
variables.
one of the best looking individuals, I think, on the men's side in the sport of CrossFit is Noah Olson, right? So people now think it's like, oh, I have to do the program that Noah Olson does, not taking into consideration that that's what he does for a living, right? And now he doesn't, he's not Frank in accounting that sits at Microsoft for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And then for that reason, we're now unable to adhere to that program long term. Right. And even though that's a program that if we're abiding by that and we're feeding the body and we're doing everything else right, but we can't adhere to that program long term, it's you're not going to get the results that you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right. So I
Absolutely.
think adherence and consistency over everything.
Yeah. And so if you're somebody that doesn't strength train a lot right now, it's like, okay, that needs to be first and foremost. So if you're like, hey, what program do you need to be following? It's like, how many times have you been working out? None. Well, just start with one. It's not optimal, but you're working on the number one thing, which is increasing consistency. Then once you get consistent at one and you made time in your schedule, you prioritize that within your schedule, you get used to that. Because it's more than just, hey, like you need to be more disciplined. Like you've got things you got to do, you got to shift things around. Sometimes that takes time, right? So give yourself some grace, build that
And
momentum over a period of time until you fit that into your schedule. But like bottom line, and I think this is a huge message that we need to say, is that you see a lot online where you have these fitness professionals. A lot of times they're 20s and don't have a lot of responsibilities, and they're like, gym is life, and they're in the gym for like 2 hours. And then we have these parents with full-time jobs. They're like, I don't want to be in the gym for 2 hours. Like, gym is not my life. Like, I want to go to the gym because I know it'll help me live my life. It's like, you don't need to be spending that much time in the gym
for
if you
sure.
do not like that.
And now then there are these people that do follow and they do try to bend fitting that program into their life on a consistent base over the knee, and it now comes at a cost that's probably not worth it, right? Your wife is now going to leave you, your kids now feel alienated because you're saying it's like, well, today is squat day. It's like, I can't come to your play, Jimmy, because I have to go squat.
Yeah.
It's
like a
like
little ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with clients that are like, hey, I go to the gym every single day. Like I do cardio on this day, then I go to Pilates on this day, and then I do group fitness on this day. And it's just every single day, like 6 to 7. I'm like, dog, like, do you want to be in the gym that much? And they're like,
no,
not
then
really. Like I've got things that I've got to do. And it's like, you don't have to. Like, you don't get brownie points for doing more than you need to. Right? If you follow a well-written program, right, you don't need to be spending that much time in the gym if you do not want to, or if you
yeah,
don't have the time to.
yeah. So adherence over everything, right? But I think you already opened the door for number 3, which is progressive overload, right? It's we need to follow a program that we can follow consistently, that we can adhere to, right? That fits to my goals. Like what I mean by it fits to your goals is if your goal is to look a little bit better or build a little bit more muscle, don't follow a marathon program,
Yeah.
right? It's unless that's the gateway to you looking better because you want to look like a runner. But if you want to look like somebody who lifts weights, chances are very high that you have to lift weights, right? So you have to follow a program that allows for that.
Yeah. Which, especially if you are somebody who is very short on time, primarily strength training is going to be really, really great. It's going to give you a huge bang for your buck. You can follow a strength training program and be in there like maybe 4 days a week, maybe 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, I think
right?
actually, actually think that's the sweet spot for
most
people. Like, I have the luxury, and you have the luxury that we can, by and large, make our own schedule, right? So I can carve out, if I felt like I needed to, 2 hours to train. But I did today what I felt like was the optimal workout for what my goals are. And it took me like 53 minutes, I think. And I included my warm up, and like my legs were shaking.
Yeah.
Right. I did a little bit of, well, I did limbs day, right? I did legs and arms.
Yeah.
But we don't need.
No, you don't need to be in the gym that long. 100%.
No.
Strength training is going to give you a huge bang for your buck, because like if you are doing something like lots of cardio or going for a half marathon, like, or like a marathon or something like that, like you mentioned, like I'm going for a half marathon, but that was something that I had to be very realistic about. Am I willing to dedicate a lot more time than I have in the past in order to do so? And I said yes. I was willing to prioritize that. I was willing to say no to other things. If you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of wiggle room, prioritizing strength training, don't get me wrong, doing some type of cardio is great for you. It's great to be a well-rounded human being and just be generally healthy.
Yep.
But you don't have to be doing like 6 days a week or doing a half marathon or marathon in order to be healthy, feel fit, and also look fit too.
No.
Right? That's
but
one of
if
the
you
reasons
want,
why I like strength training. You just get a huge bang for your buck.
but if you want to, cool.
Yeah.
You know, and again, everything comes with a trade-off, right? So it's like, if it aligns with your lifestyle, like for me, I don't do only bodybuilding, only CrossFit, only running. I like to do a little bit of everything. And since I choose to train that way, I just have to be okay that I will not maximize my potential in either one of those categories, right? But I can maximize my own potential within that plan, right? But in order for me to do that, we have to follow something that's called a progressive overload, which is why tracking your weights, sets, reps, time, how many days you go a week is so important, right?
For those of you that don't know what progressive overload is, just to oversimplify it, it's again going back to that analogy that I used before. It's like following a curriculum. There's a rhyme and a reason as to why you're doing certain things. There's a certain progressions. You're going to test things out. You have times where maybe you take a step back, right? It's the same thing when it comes to programming. If you mix everything up over a period of time, that's like a teacher having no rhyme or reason to the curriculum, and your kids aren't going to really learn anything very efficiently. And then if the teacher just teaches the same thing over and over and over and over again over a period of time, at first, like your kids are going to learn that material, but sooner or later they're going to feel like they're spinning their wheels and nothing's changing, right? So following a program with a rhyme and reason and committing to that program and being adherent, not perfect, but adherent. And I say this a lot to our clients as well, is like, you've got to follow a program from start to finish. One of the reasons why you're not seeing your results is because you're unable to follow this map that we've created from start to finish.
Yeah, think of it as renovating your house, right? I want to renew the flooring. Cool. So now you rip out the floor, but you don't finish the project and you don't put new flooring in. Oh, well, now you're going to move on to bathroom appliances, right? So you take out all the appliances, but you don't finish the job and you don't put the cabinets back together, right? It's eventually you'll end up with 19 different started projects in the home, and you created a much bigger mess than if you would have just done one thing and finished that one thing and left everything the way it was.
I say this a lot. You do one thing and you put your full ass in things. If you do
Yes.
5 different things, you're half-assing. And we don't half-ass here. We use our full ass here.
Full ass.
Yeah, so
yes.
Full ass your programs. Commit to it start to finish.
Yes.
I know that sometimes people are like, but I get bored. But then, like we said before, all the shiny thing syndromes is like this program, but this program, but this program. It's like, I understand it. We both are the ADHD brains. Like, we get it. But it is so imperative to make sure that you follow from start to finish. Like we said before, adherence and consistency. Even if you do a crappy program, if you just do it and you do it with your full ass, you'll still see results. That's the beautiful thing. Right?
And
so stick with it.
I will go as far and I will say that it's almost impossible to get bored on a strength training program, even if you repeat the same shit for 6 months, as long as you're pushing yourself hard enough, because that's the thing that makes you feel better, right? Now, I'm not saying that you should be doing the same shit for half a year, but
and remember, I know in my head I'm like, screw that. Like, no, I get bored. No, it's the type 2 fun. All right. So the type 2 fun is where while you do it, you might not be having, like, you won't be completely entertained and things like that. But the outcome of completing the program and seeing yourself actually progress over a period of time and getting that return investment, that's the fun part. It's the delayed gratification part.
It's
the type 2 fun.
We're chasing more often than not. I like to say that it's when I talk to personal clients, when I'm doing personal training. And we're talking exercise selection, where it's like, hey, I like to do, I don't know, hamstring curls. And we like to squeeze out that last little bit of range of motion because it makes me feel like my hamstrings start to cramp, right? That's not where you get most bang for your buck within that movement. You get in the bottom half of the movement, you get the most bang for your buck. So what you're doing is you're chasing a sensation, and you don't chase the stimulus that you need to look the way you want.
You're going off of your feelings. This feels productive. This feels like I'm getting a good workout, instead of thinking logically.
Yes. And now, every program will come with some sort of, because progressive overload, again, is the process of increasing your volume over time, right? You're progressing through the workout, whereas we can think of it as weights multiplied by your sets multiplied by your reps, and that number at the end is your volume, and we want to increase that, right? So either one of these 3 variables we can manipulate, but I see a lot, and when I program, even for our own flagship programming, we put rep ranges on things, right? Hey, do 10 reps of this exercise, do 6 to 12 reps here. And it's not that that's an ideal rep range, right? There's nothing magical about it. It's just a convenient range to accumulate a certain amount of volume in an efficient manner, right? Consider that the best rep range is pretty broad, right? As long as you are getting close to failure, right? Because for building muscle, the weight just needs to be heavy enough, and the set needs to be adequately challenging, right? So we can probably say that as long as we're making sure that the set lasts long enough to create enough tension, right? It's that feeling of your muscles burning a little bit. It's like you're getting that. For my bro listeners, we're getting that pump, you know.
Yep.
And we don't have too many reps left in the tank with good form, that's really all that matters. Now, we don't want them to be so long that we can do 50, 60 reps, because at that point, we're probably not going heavy enough. But as long as you're staying anywhere between 5 and 20, 25, even 30 reps, I know, but research shows that we create the same amount of muscle gain within that rep range as long as I only leave 2 to 3 reps left in the tank, right? You don't have to go super heavy just because your favorite YouTuber is Russell Orey and he squats heavy weight for 1 or 2 reps, right? Again, research finds that beyond 80% of your 1 rep max, we don't really recruit more muscle fibers. But what we do is we increase the risk of injury. And now if I get hurt because I try to look cool for Instagram, we're now having that adherence problem again, right? That you can't be consistent.
Yeah.
So
100%. So that's the next big rock is you need to make sure that you're actually lifting heavy, which for a lot of people, especially when I'm coaching at like gyms, for most people, it is very intimidating to go heavy. And it's rightfully so, right? Like, am I going to hurt myself? Is my technique okay? Blah, blah, blah. But for most people, they're looking to get more fit. They're looking to get more toned, right? Or get that fit look as well. They're also looking to get healthier, which we talked about in the previous podcast episode about the health benefits of like the life-changing benefits of muscle. If you haven't listened to that episode, I would highly suggest go listening to it. You're probably going to be obsessed with building muscle by the time you're done, just because it's so much more than how we look. There's so many freaking benefits to it. But a lot of them are just very intimidated to go heavy. And a lot of people don't really know what it actually feels like to go heavy.
For
like
sure.
To truly go to failure. That's something that I encourage a lot of people to do.
That's such a great point.
Yeah. If they have the right technique, like get the technique down first, stay safe. But once you get the technique down, find your true failure. Then you'll actually feel that stimulus, and then you'll actually know what it means to go 2 to 3 reps away from failure.
Yeah.
I think most people don't know.
No, and it doesn't have to be a 1 rep max, right? Because the injury risk just is a little bit too high at that point to truly go to failure. But like a 20 rep max back squat, right? Where it's like you truly can't stand up anymore. It's the weight at that point is probably light enough where you don't get hurt, but it's heavy enough in order to make you feel like you're about to throw up.
I would add technical failure. I don't want people going to like pooping dogs. Like they're like straight up, like the look of the pooping dog where it's like people are back squatting and it's just like put the weight down.
We say that all the time. It's like failure before form breaks down, right? You can either not stand up the weight anymore or your form breaks down. Either one of those two.
Yeah. But 100%. Lift heavy. Like, I mean, ugly lift in face. Like if you're not making ugly faces. Like,
I tell people all the time, it's like, I can tell by how you look what your level of effort was.
Exactly.
Right.
Or you're not making, like, I make lifting noises. Like, I don't care. I'm there to lift. I make weird noises. I definitely make weird faces. I know back when I lifted a lot, I had people making memes off of my face. It looked like, the SpongeBob sardines.
Yes.
I make that face.
It's so funny that you just said that, because before we jumped on today, Rachel was sitting on the stairs and like editing a workout reel that she filmed of herself. And she was like, God, whenever like I'm listening to this, I can hear you in the background.
Yeah.
It's like, good. That probably means I was working out hard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But people are like, but people are going to look at me and my face. And it's like, dude, you're there to get strong. You're there to lift lift weights. People understand. And if they don't, then give a middle finger from us, because they don't really know.
Unless you're like screaming.
Yeah.
I will challenge you that this is a logical fallacy called the spotlight effect, where we think that people care way more about us than they actually do. Like people in the gym, they got shit to do themselves. They're there for a reason, they're there for the same reason you are. They don't look at you. They don't care. They don't.
When I'm at the gym, I have my headphones in. I love people, don't get me wrong, but when I'm at the gym, my headphones in, I'm not paying attention to you. I have my headphones in for a reason. That says, leave me alone.
I know. I was about to say, when I'm working out, I'm either working out with headphones. That's like, hey, my goal today is to fuck some shit up.
Yeah.
Or I don't have headphones in, and that's like, hey, you can come bother me, like, I don't mind. I'm here to like socialize.
Yeah.
But there's two different ways. But there's actually another study that shows if people are left to their own devices, they don't track their weights, they don't have a program that tells them how much weight to increase from one week to the other, we're probably leaving about 25 to 30% on the table.
Ooh,
and
just from those little two things.
Just from either not having someone that tells us, hey, I think you can safely go a little bit heavier, or not having a piece of paper where you write down how much weight you've done for that exercise. It's for those that can't see. I'm holding a piece of paper in the camera.
Yeah. Or even an app. I mean, we use our app with our clients, and in the programming, you're supposed to track your reps and your sets. And there's an area where you can click on the button and see everything from the past to make sure that you're progressing and see your progress over a period of time, which I think is also important to keep motivated to do things. If you're not keeping track of what you're doing, how do you know if you're progressing or not? There's so many people I don't feel like I'm progressing. I don't feel like I'm getting stronger. Okay. What were you lifting 2 weeks ago, like 6 months ago? I don't know. It's like, then how do you know? Right?
Yeah. So making sure we're progressing, right? I would say is like number 3.
Number 3, and then number 4 is lift heavy. Right? We're on number 4.
I would say 4
progressive
is
overload, and then number 4 is actually lift heavy.
I think that's part of progressive overload.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's
okay. We'll put it as like asterisks, like
3.1.
3.1. Just make sure you lift heavy. That's a big point. We'll
effort.
Put it underneath 3.
Intensity. Yep. Right.
I think number 4 should be recovery.
I was about to say, I think a lot of people want to say nutrition, but I actually think it should be recovery.
I would put nutrition under recovery.
Yep.
Right? Well, nutrition is under recovery. Because you recover through eating well.
Yes.
Stress, things like that.
If we're going into the levels of recovery.
So it's like recovery 4.1.
Exactly.
Nutrition. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go in recovery. And as a reminder, to build muscle tissue, what you need to do is create a stimulus, like lifting weights, to tear down your muscle tissue fibers. Okay. Yep. But then you need to repair it. How do you repair it? Through recovery.
Again, how do you renovate?
Yeah. Like through sleep, through proper nutrition, right? Eating enough calories and also eating enough protein and good quality of food too.
Letting enough time elapse between days where you train the same muscle group. Don't get me wrong.
Which is a good sign of like just a really good program that you're following too.
Yeah. You can do full body training, but at the same time, we should probably, I don't want to get into program design. But
no, that could be a hunt.
If you're, it's part of recovery is how quickly are you healing, right? It's, are you getting sore? If the answer is yes, that probably means you've trained intensely enough. Don't get me wrong. Soreness is not the only factor to judge a good workout by. But
if you're sore all the time, that's not a good sign. Every once in a while, right? Every so often getting sore, that's perfectly fine. But if you're constantly walking around like you can't sit down on the toilet, that's a problem.
I would say there's different like degrees of soreness.
Yeah.
Like if you have that much DOMS, like muscle soreness, that's a problem. Because now it's going to take you forever to heal from that in order to do the same muscle group again. And now you're probably not going to maximize your the time that you're spending in the gym, right? Because the next time if you follow the program and let's say you train legs on Tuesday and by Friday you're still so sore that you can barely move the empty barbell, so you're probably not getting much out of Friday.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
But it's if you're a little bit sore and you're just barely are sore or you're not sore at all, the next day you go train again, that's probably a sign of, hey, you're training hard enough and you're recovering quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
But
yeah. So like, again, just a reminder, you tear down the muscle tissue in the gym. That's only half the battle. You got to repair that muscle tissue through recovery.
That's where it gets built, right? Building muscle. The topic of today is not how do I break down a muscle properly. It's because all of the other things that we just were talking about is how do we effectively break down the muscle, right? Where we're building the muscle is in between workouts, right? During, and that's why I will probably say that where I wanted to put recovery over nutrition, because it's probably sleep over everything.
Oh yeah. Like if you did not go to get enough sleep and you have the choice of sleeping a couple hours more or going to the gym, please choose sleep.
Please like choose sleep. And again, that doesn't mean that in an optimal world would you get 8-9 hours of sleep. Yes, but if you can only be physically active if you're starting your day 45 minutes early, and that now means you're sleeping 6.5 to 7 hours, start there.
Obviously, right? There are nuances.
Right, but it's like if it means that, like, if you're Chad who works at Wall Street and has like a job from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. and now you feel like that you have to go to the gym after, and then you're not home until 11:30 because you worked out for 3 hours and now you sleep for 3.5 hours, you're probably not getting anything.
Yeah, it's prioritize sleep.
Sleep. If I don't know who said that, but it was some very respected guy in the
some cool person
in the industry said, if you have the question of you're either going to eat a better meal or you're going to get better sleep or sleep longer, those are two valid reasons to skip your exercise that day. It's that important.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Which is why we said earlier that 4 days of training is probably enough. Right? On those other days, make sure you get your sleep.
Yeah.
Make 100%. Sure you do your injury preventative stretching or whatever else makes you feel good.
Yeah. Right? And like, this is another conversation. Like, if you are on the side of maybe going more for athletic performance, maybe you are trying to be a bodybuilder or a powerlifter or a weightlifter or marathons or what have it. Like, having athletic goals is amazing. We have a lot of clients that do that, but every single time we have somebody that's moving into that side of things, we have to have that conversation where it's like, are you willing to recover just as hard as you're training? If you're increasing your training, that means that you'll have to dedicate more time and attention to recovery. And that was something that I had to be okay with going into my half marathon. I'm training significantly more than I did 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I would do strength training maybe 4 days a week, a little bit of cardio. I was in and out. It wasn't hard to recover from that. Now I'm strength training a lot more. I'm having to eat a hell of a lot more. I'm having to sleep a hell of a lot more. I'm stretching a lot more. And if you don't, and I made this huge mistake when I was a full-time weightlifter, I didn't prioritize my recovery. And I got injured left and right, and I felt like crap, and my body hated it. And I honestly lost a lot of muscle tissue during that time, right? Because I wasn't repairing that. So that's also something that you have to take in consideration. I'm not trying to like discourage you from doing it, but it's just, there's always pros and cons to everything that you choose. Are you willing to make that? It's not a sacrifice. If you want something, you've got to be willing to give something. Are you willing to give that? Right?
You're probably not overtraining. You're most likely under recovering.
100%.
Right? And I love that you already segued that you didn't eat enough. Because if I want to gain muscle, I have to make sure I eat enough food. More often than not, I'm finding myself.
But hold on, Toby. I thought it was I just need to eat less and move more to reach any of my goals that I want.
Yeah, you sound like Brenda.
I make light of that joke, but seriously, we have been like we've said this so many times on other podcast episodes. We've, as a society, by diet culture, we've been conditioned to think that it's as easy as eat less and move more to reach whatever goals that we want. And it's not working. We're the most unhealthy we've ever been, but all we have been doing, you can ask almost anybody. I've been on diets left and right. No matter what I've tried, I'm just not seeing the results. And then our clients finally starting to see results. It's sustainable. They feel healthier. And one of the big reasons why is we teach them that being in a calorie deficit isn't necessarily inherently bad. It's just not a lifestyle. And if you want to get to the goals, the health and the fitness goals that you have, you need to spend a significant more time eating enough calories to see the results that you're looking for. And then if you want to go in a calorie deficit, be strategic with it.
I was about to say it's part of it, right? If we want to lose, right, if we want to lose fat, physiologically the only way around it is to burn more calories than we're consuming, right? Mm-hmm. But if I can consume more and that now gives me more energy to move more, and then my calorie output goes up, now I can maximize how much I'm eating while still getting the results that I want, right? Neither muscle gain or fat loss, but for the purpose of today, muscle gain, we have to be at least at maintenance. Maintenance will probably be, and by maintenance I mean eating as many calories as you're spending, is probably
AKA living. It's where you should be at majority of your life. Is at that calories.
It will not maximize the amount of muscle that you build, but it will minimize the amount of fat that you gain with it.
I would say the only exception is if you are a newbie, right? You've never really lifted in your life. Being in maintenance calories, you'll probably build a decent amount of muscle.
Yeah, but
because your body hasn't been exposed to it before.
Right, but I think the reason for that is more that we're now adding that new stimulus of training.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? But a lot of people say, well, it's like 20% the training, 80% the diet. And it's like, it's not that simple.
No.
Right? I think, and a really, really good friend of mine made that mistake in high school to add like a liquid weight gainer to his training. And I was like, dude, you're going to gain some muscle, but the way that you gain is not what you want to gain, and you'll probably have a very, very hard time to get. So he went from having abs to going into having a dad bod within a matter of like 6 months. And that was the last time I've seen him have abs. And that was like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that the workout routine changed, right? It's just that the body now, it's the environment must be right. You know, it's not just eating. It's not just training. It's not just sleeping. Yes, eating in a calorie surplus allows you to gain muscle. But if you don't train appropriately,
you're going to turn into the quote unquote dirty bulk.
Right. And think of it like planting a seed. Right? It's like you can't just place the seed in the desert and expect it to thrive. Right? It's in that same way, a calorie surplus and high protein. I eat 500 grams of protein a day.
Oh my God, the
right?
protein parts.
And the meat sweats, right?
Oh,
it's like that alone won't lead to muscle growth.
No.
Right? We have to put all of the other pieces in place that will stimulate muscle growth. Right? So before we can start to create the perfect nutritional protocol. And again, I think people chase optimal and perfect too much.
There's no such thing as perfect. There's optimal. There's no such thing as perfect.
Right, but even in the topic of optimal, we don't know more often than that what optimal is, right? Like if we're comparing 2 or 3 things, it's all that we can say is that this either works better or worse, right? So what we should be doing is we should chase better, right? We should chase improvement over perfection, right? Because there's probably always some shape or form where we can get better, right? So we are heavily involved in nutrition, right? Mm-hmm. Both you and I, and we're looking at people's nutrition plans. And what I hear a lot when I talk about people that just start out is, hey, I got to get the protein right. I have to make sure they're eating more protein. I have to make sure that we're timing the food, and that we're reading like all of the laboratories, and we're doing so much, but we're not putting all these pieces together to fit that person's lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like if you are trying, this goes back to what I said in the beginning, like if you are chasing optimal at the expense of your lifestyle, and you probably need to change your lifestyle a little bit, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you can't alienate the person that you are, right? Like if you are a mom,
it's got to add value to your life.
Yes, that's a very great way to put it, right? If you are a mom, you want to make sure that the way you're eating and the way you're working out makes you better at being a mom, mm-hmm. right? If you're a caretaker, you probably want to make sure that the way you eat and the way you work out makes you more proficient at your job, because if you're tearing down all of those pieces, you now become a terrible child. You now become, and by child I mean like you don't treat your parents right. Mm-hmm. You're now becoming not the best spouse that you could be, right?
You're not being the role model to your kids that you want. Yeah, it's got to add value to your life.
Right.
Optimal is no longer optimal if it's not applicable. It needs to be applicable in your life. It needs to add value to your life. We say this all the time. Nutrition fitness is not a prison. If you feel like you're trapped in your prison, you're not doing it right. It should be a tool to help you live your best life. Yes, there will be some changes, but at the end, you should get that, like, I enjoy the person that I'm becoming. Yes. I thoroughly love the person that I'm becoming. These are the tools that are helping me be my best self. So that way I can pour into other things that are super important in my life. If that's not happening, then it's not applicable to you. You need to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. Yeah,
it's your best self doesn't just mean you look the best, right? You're not saying, hey, I am my best looking self. Mm-hmm. It's you're saying, I am my best self. It's you're trying to maximize your potential in all areas at the same time. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to become your best self, you are looking the best you can while being the healthiest you can, while being as present as you can be for the people that depend on you, those kind of things, right? While performing your job as good as you can. If any one of these things takes on more, some of the others will probably suffer. And if you're okay with that, that's cool.
Yeah,
right? 100%. But the definition of the best self is usually way oversimplified to, hey, I want to become my best self. That's why I want to be in fat loss. It's like, how lean do you want to be? It's like, I want to be shredded. And it's like, just so that you know, you are not,
be your best self.
That won't be your best self, because you're now sacrificing your health. Yeah. right? So your best self is...
And usually people are cranky as F when they're
Yes.
super lean too. Nobody wants to be around you.
Right?
You won't have anybody that actually wants to talk to you.
So your best self is probably heavier than you picture it to be. Your best self probably doesn't look the way you picture it, right? It's, I mean, can we make that happen at one period or another? Maybe, right? But it's not your best self. Your best self is maximizing your potential everywhere. So stop chasing optimal, stop chasing perfect, stop chasing the best, and just chase better, because that you can implement tomorrow, right? You can't be perfect tomorrow, but you can be better, right? I can make a better food choice. I can make a better sleep choice, right? I can be
100%.
a better role model by doing those things.
I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Chase better.
So like overall with these things is like recover, just to recap it. Okay. Number one, strength training. Prioritize strength training. It doesn't mean that you can't do like cardio and things like that, but we just, if you want to build muscle, prioritize strength training. About 4 days a week for about 45 minutes to an hour is a sweet spot for a lot of people. But ultimately, like you were just saying, start somewhere, get better, and figure out what's applicable and something that you can be consistent at. And you're doing great if you're starting with that. The second thing is remind me, what was the second thing?
Adherence. Make sure you're choosing something that you can stick to.
Yep. Right. Number 3 is following a progressive overload strength training program. Make sure that you're following a rhyme to reason. You're committing from start to finish to the program, because again, like we said before, if you're consistent at a shitty program, you're still going to see results. But if you follow a really good progressive overload strength training program, you follow it to a T and you lift heavy, you should see some really great results.
So if we want to give that like one word, I would say intensity.
Yep. And then number 4 is make sure that you are also focusing on recovery. So that means, are you sleeping, right? 7 to 8 hours is prime for most people, but just make do with what you can. If you're somebody that's really struggling with sleep and you have to choose between sleep or strength training, please pick sleep. That's going to give you your biggest bang for your buck. But also making sure that we're eating enough calories in general. For a lot of people, just eating in maintenance is going to be a really great start, but you can explore a calorie surplus. Just don't go on the crazy side of things. That's where you experience the dirty bulk.
Yeah.
You still want to eat good quality of food. You still want to be in a slight calorie surplus, not a huge one. Don't be eating McDonald's and Chick-fil-A just because you're like, but Coach Tobi and Coach Casey says I should be in a calorie surplus, so I'm just going to eat all the food.
No.
Right? Do it smart.
Eat as little as you have to get the results that you want.
100%. So small calorie surpluses to start with over a period of time is a really great way to start. But obviously, like you guys have heard this 5 billion times, it's a trend that I can actually get behind now, is like the whole protein craze that's going on. It's like, yes, is the trend that I'm not rolling my eyes at right now. Eat enough protein too. That's the building blocks to your muscle, right? If you do that, and then I want to add the last thing, number 5, okay, is time. You've got to be patient. You've got to give yourself time, right? It's because when it comes to either building muscle tissue or fat loss or things like that, fat loss, losing weight is actually really easy in comparison to building muscle tissue and also creating physiological change. That's also another big thing that we do here at Thriving On, is that those who want to create changes with their health, maybe they're getting some blood work back and they want to improve that. Maybe they want to get off of medications potentially through more functional means, lifestyle, nutrition, fitness, things like that. See if they can move the needle in that direction. That's something that Tobi works a lot with his clients. He's the functional nutritionist on staff. He's the one that's trained to look at blood work and work with doctors as well, collaborate with them to personalize your fitness, your nutrition, and your lifestyle changes to support whatever goals that you have. Okay. Building muscle and the physiological changes, that is hard. Fat loss is like instant gratification. You go into a calorie deficit and within a week or 2, you'll start seeing results like that. It is like the easiest out of all of them, right? Building muscle tissue and physiological changes, those are the ones where your character is going to have to come in, right? Your instant gratification mindset has got to go in your back pocket. You've got to have patience. You got to trust the process. You got to keep putting your head down and doing the thing over and over and over again, and just be patient and understand that it takes time for your body to make the change, right? I think that's the biggest thing, is that the body, the lifestyle, the health that you want, contrary to what you see on social media, because it doesn't sell. We're here to tell you what's right, what's real, right? Not what sells. Otherwise we'd be fucking millionaires right now. God damn. Are we sure that we want to tell people the real truth and not just do the diet culture BS that we see online? We'd be making so much more money.
Yeah, we should be like that lady with the orange glasses.
I was just picturing that. I was like, I should just get the yellow. I think I actually have yellow lenses. Oh, I should grab. I'm not going to grab them, but yeah, I have those in there. Anyways, with that being said, it takes time. You're going to have to be patient. It's probably not what you want to hear, but it is what you need to hear to get the health, to get the body, to get the muscle tissue that you want. It's going to take longer than what you probably anticipate. And it's, again, diet culture bullshit. It sells to say that you can get something in a couple of months, when in reality, it takes longer than that. Sorry, not sorry. Right? We love you, though, and we believe in you. Build the muscle tissue. And again, if you haven't listened to the life-changing benefits to building muscle, please go listen to it. It's a really good podcast episode. We had a lot of fun with that. But again, it's really simple. Building muscle. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but it's
Correct.
really, really simple. Okay. So from there, again, as a reminder, sign up for the Meal Planning Made Simple workshop. We'll also be dropping a lot of big announcements coming out. I'm very excited for this year. Oh, so much is going on. So if you want to hear those announcements, please tune into that. I'll put that in the show notes. Toby, do you have any final remarks before we let them go?
No, start strength training.
Lift the weights. You'll thank us later. Okay?
I know. Whenever you say that, I have to picture like Teddy Cruz in his like Old Spice body wash commercials.
Oh my gosh, Old Spice commercials. Oh my gosh, I miss those. Those are the best. All right. But now you know what to do. Now it's a matter of getting to it. We wish you all the best. And if you ever have any questions about anything, right? Maybe you missed something, or there's a certain nuance and you want help applying it to your life, hit us up. Contact information's in the show notes below. We're more than welcome. We're more than happy to help any way that we can. That's the big thing about this podcast. We're just trying to help as much as we possibly can. Right? Before I let you go, if you could do me a favor, right? While we love doing this podcast, we absolutely love giving. That is our love language. We love doing this stuff for free. We love giving really good information out there to help you become the CEO of your health. It does take quite a bit of time. And so the only thing that we ask is for you to, if you enjoyed this and you felt like this is helpful, share it on your stories. Leave us a review. Share it with your friends. Right? Our mission is to impact as many people's lives as possible to help them become the CEO of your health, and we can't do it without you. So if you can take a quick second to do that, it'll mean more than you know. All right? Well, we're going to wrap it up because I know both Toby and I are late for coaching calls right now. We got a piece. We love you guys. Until next week. Bye.